Hey, what's up? I'm Dan here with Distance Wizard Disc Golf, and in this video I want to show you an exercise I came up with that I believe might realistically be the most important exercise for any disc golf player. And I'll explain why that is, how to do it, and what equipment you'll need in order to do it. So first, let me show you what the exercise looks like. So basically, the exercise is a standstill throwing motion with a weight. You're not following through, but you're going from your reach back to your power pocket. And here it is from behind. As you can see, very similar to an actual throw. That's the whole idea. You're basically practicing the positions of a throw with a weight. Okay, so now that you've seen the exercise, let me show you what you'll need to do it and then go over some more of the details of how to do it correctly. Okay, so first of all, you're going to need to get a cable pulley if you don't have one or have access to one already. I'll post an Amazon affiliate link in the description. They're only about 20 bucks, plus you'll have to get the weights, but it's really essential. I actually had a pulley system as part of my power rack here, but it only has positions low and high, and that's really not that's not what you need in order to implement this exercise correctly. You really want a single independent pulley that you're able to adjust to the correct height. You might also be tempted to just want to use a regular exercise band, and I've seen people doing that in the past, but it really doesn't give you the same results because the tension isn't there until the end of the swing. So you're really only getting any muscular reinforcement until you're at the pocket itself, which isn't a terrible thing, but I find it completely trains the muscles in a different way versus the steady and consistent resistance of the weights from the pulley, where the weight is resisting your movement throughout the entire motion. Now, as far as handle that you want to use, you can just use a regular cable handle like this. Again, I'll put an Amazon affiliate link in the description. Alternatively, another really great option if you don't have that, or maybe if you really want to be sport specific, you can actually use a towel and just grip it similar to how you would grip a disc. Right? So pretty much pretending that there's a disc in my hand here, and then you're literally getting the exact same motion that you would in disc golf. One other option I experimented with was the handle on a flight towel, and in theory that's a really cool idea because it is literally a part of a disc. I think this is just a destroyer. But I find it flexes a little too much. There's just a little too much weight when you're pulling. I don't like the way it kind of turns in. I think if you want to go sport specific, you're much better off just going with the towel and just gripping it like you would a disc. Also, word of advice, if you are going to use a towel, be sure to use your wife, girlfriend, or mom's finest towel. They'll really love that you're making a lot of use out of it. Just a like pro tip for you. Okay, so now that we have the right equipment, let me show you how to do the exercise. You're going to take your handle, your chosen preference, and assume basically, your standard disc golf stance. Preferably you have one foot staggered in front of your trailing foot. By staggered, I mean out in front. Basically just your good quality disc golf stance. And then you'll want to get far enough out that when you're at the end of the range of motion here, the end of your rotational range of motion, the weights have just broken off from the ground. So there's resistance at the end of your swing, end of your reach back. And part of the benefit of this exercise is that it's also giving you an active stretch. Active meaning that your muscles are activated while you're in a stretch position. So you're going to get there, and again, keeping that 90 degrees between your chest and your upper arm. Going to freeze that and just rotate to your neutral, hold it for a second, and then with control, release it back. Very simple, but it's important to get the mechanics of this correct. Again, because it's reinforcing the good mechanics for your throw. So the key to doing this exercise is that you want to make sure you have a 90-degree angle between your chest and your upper arm, right? This is what we typically refer to as the power pocket. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 90, but generally speaking, you want it to be approximately 90 degrees. And so to illustrate that, I've got a speed square here. And so A lot of people make the mistake, especially beginners, of moving their arm relative to their chest, relative to their torso. But in actuality, you want that angle between your chest and upper arm to maintain 90 degrees. And your arm, your forearm, is actually what straightens out. See here, I'm still at 90 degrees when I'm like this in my backswing or reach back. And as I'm rotating, it comes to 90. And as I come out, it extends out. And then eventually you open up. But the key for this exercise, and actually the reason I developed this exercise, was to reinforce that proper angle in the power pocket. And so that's what you need to make sure you're doing while you're performing this exercise. Okay, so I'm back in position here, and my arm is maintaining that 90-degree angle. It's just that my torso is facing back to the weights in this case, and in disc golf, it would actually be facing away from your target. And you're maintaining this angle and just rotating. And so you should feel the tension in your rear delt and lat as you perform this rotational movement. And again, the key to this exercise is keeping that 90 degrees in your elbow. It's really a power pocket reinforcing exercise, which is the first benefit to it. It's training your body under load, above a load that you'd normally encounter in disc golf, and it's getting you used to those positions and reinforcing it in your nervous system. So now when you actually go to throw, you're going to be much more likely to actually hit those positions. And not only are you going to be able to hit those positions, but you're going to be able to hit those positions with more power and without thinking about it. Again, it's in training your nervous system to get into the pocket, right? Same thing as I was just doing with the weight, now it's with a disc. On that note, a really key component here is what you're doing with your rear foot. You may have an inclination to point it back toward the weights. It makes it a little easier to resist getting pulled that way. But ideally, you want to actually have it be perpendicular to the weight. That will help strengthen the muscles on the outside of your leg here, which are actually what you will use when you're racing. It's on the opposite side, because in this case, you're working with resistance rather than blocking your own momentum. Right, so if I'm throwing a right hand backhand, coming through and blocking here, and it's these muscles. Again, it's reversed, but you're still strengthening those muscles. Everything in this exercise for the upper body is about accurate for sport-specific movement. Everything in your lower body is a little bit reversed, which isn't the end of the world, but just something to be mindful of. I'm not advocating that you throw off your back leg. This is really an exercise for your upper body. It's just that with this change of foot positioning, you're better able to mirror the muscles that you're going to use when you're throwing. It's just on the opposite side. So that brings me to my next essential point for why this exercise is so beneficial. And it's because it lets you use both sides. So what's the benefit of using both sides? Well, injury prevention. So a lot of times people run into issues of injuries, especially in sports, from overuse. Let's say I'm doing an exercise that only is using bicep and not tricep. Over time, my body will become imbalanced, where the muscles in the bicep will become too strong relative to the muscles in the tricep. As such, it'll create issues in the elbow, where it's literally pulling parts of the joint, tendons and ligaments out of position because the tricep isn't strong enough to counteract the force from the bicep. And so in a sport like disc golf, where you're using one side of your body to do the same motion over and over and over again, it's essential that you work out the muscles on the opposite side, the complementary side. And that's how your body naturally is balanced, that it has all of these muscles work in complementary fashion to be able to remain balanced. And if you're only ever doing exercise with one side of your body, you're inherently going to become imbalanced, which is going to lead to problems down the road. So the biggest reason that I think this is the most important exercise in disc golf is that injury prevention factor. Yeah, it's great that it reinforces your technique, it builds power, but most importantly, it prevents injury by allowing you to train the complementary muscles to what you normally do when throwing. So that brings me to how you want to actually utilize this exercise. The first and most valuable way that I put this exercise to use is after a round or after field work, I go put it at a relatively moderate weight, and simply do it with my left side. I'm right-handed, I throw right-handed, so I do the exercise with my left side. I might do a couple reps with my right just because it is slightly different from actually throwing, so I want to make sure I'm as balanced as possible. But you should feel really good when you're doing this exercise. For me, it immediately alleviates a lot of tension. The other day last week, I ended up doing 3 rounds of field work, and I woke up the next day and was super tight, just on my right side, did this exercise, and honestly, the pain vanished. So that's a really good illustration of just how beneficial this exercise really can be. So that's one way to use it, is after you actually go out and play, come back and do this exercise. Helps balance your body. One additional benefit to being balanced is that it actually allows your body to generate more force. Your body has a natural way of evaluating what's going to hurt it and what isn't. And as you get stronger and stronger in the ways that balance and complement your throw, it'll actually help you throw further. So that's why it's so essentially valuable that you're able to basically practice throwing at greater intensity on the opposite side of how you normally throw. In addition, when you do it on the same side you actually throw on, it's reinforcing good technique, a good power pocket, as well as strengthening the muscles that will help you throw further. So it gives you good technique, more power, and injury prevention. So that's why I think it is the best exercise for disc golf. Let me know in the comments if you liked this video, if you have any questions, or if you want to see anything else on a similar topic related to disc golf, exercises for throwing better, stronger, or anything else. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.